Dez Bryant absolutely ripped the NFL for their Pride Month promotion, which has been getting a lot of heat on social media. And Alcorn State coach Leroy Frederick joins the show to discuss this, as well as Coach Prime responding to the rumors about Shedeur Sanders pre-draft interviews. Stay tuned as we got a loaded show here on Bailey Price Media Live. Writer for footballscoop.com, my main man Zach Barnett joins the show to talk all things college football news as we get closer to the season, including the truth about Kirby Smart reportedly paying Georgia high school commits $20,000 a month to stay committed to Georgia. And if they decommit, they got to pay it back. Join us as we are live here on Bailey Price Media Live. I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live.
Bailey Price Media Live.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live here on this beautiful Tuesday. Can't thank you enough for tuning in. Today, we got Alcorn State coach Leroy Frederick joining the second half of the show to break down Dez Bryant slamming the NFL for their Pride Month promotions. Coach Fred and myself have a lot to say about that, so stay tuned for that. But in the first half of the show, we have writer for footballscoop.com, my main man Zach Barnett joining the show to talk all things college football news. We're going to talk all things. We get closer to the college football season. I can't wait for the season. I'm going to ask him about Kirby Smart, poorly paid Georgia high school commits $20K a month to stay committed to Georgia, and much more. If you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and become a member of the Bailey Price Media RB today. I can't thank you enough for tuning in. Without further ado, our special guest is here, writer for footballscoop.com. My man Zach Barnett joins the show. Zach, how you doing, my man? Can't thank you enough for joining.
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's talk some college football news. It's kind of a slow period as we get closer to the season, but man, I can't wait for this electric season of college football that's about to be. Zach, I wanted to ask you about this story. I thought this was an interesting kind of tidbit, couldn't have expected this 5 or 10 years ago in college football, but reportedly Kirby Smart says high school recruits are getting paid as much as $20,000 a month by collectives to uphold their commitments, and if they decommit, they're asked to return the compensation. Do you know about this? Do you have any insight and background behind this? And what are your thoughts on that era of college football that we're in 2025?
Yeah, I think first of all, everyone needs to realize that this is nothing new. Players have been getting paid to be good at college football for a long, long time, and it's just now over the table, so to speak. So paying for commitments, paying for performance, paying for visits, that type of stuff has been around. So this is nothing new. Yeah, I saw Kirby's comments. I don't know. I have my suspicions as to who he's talking about. It's not Georgia. I think if you follow recruiting closely, you can figure out pretty much who he's talking about. I'm not going to say who it is. But, this has been going on. I mean, this program I'm thinking of is not the only one that does it. And then the fact that they'd want their money back, I mean, of course. What do you think they're paying? They're not giving you that money for free. They're paying you to be a future fill in the blank, whatever nickname you want. I know there was one recruit in the 2025 class that's now getting ready to be an upcoming freshman. He committed to one school, wasn't going to work out, decommitted, but the family had already started kind of living off the money that he'd been paid, and so they need to replace that income. So that kind of affected the school where he originally signed with. It kind of affected where he was going to commit to next because they were already living on the money he was making as a college football player. And I mean, I don't have a problem with this. You're paid. I mean, last I checked, this is America. This is a capitalistic system. You're worth what someone's willing to pay you. And I know certain states don't allow it. I know here in Texas, you're not allowed to make any NIL money as a high school athlete. But if your state allows it, have at it.
Definitely. This is so wild to me. The biggest thing that I take away from it is there's a lot of people who are claim they're experts in this field, and then they're constantly, I do a show with Matt McChesney covering Colorado Buffaloes football, and he's representing players kind of coming up in the high school ranks, negotiating with colleges for these deals because it's revenue sharing now. They're getting paid directly from the school, and people are saying, for example, the Colorado Buffaloes shouldn't have to give like a hometown discount to get top tier talent. I don't think people really understand the nature of college football. This is a business. This is professional football. They're getting paid to play. This is what it is. I get NIL, what it was intended for, name, image, and likeness. What the actual thing is, I think it's a little bit different. What are your thoughts on that? The system as a whole, are there any tweaks that you would make to the college football system, the way it's kind of headed in the direction it's headed? And could you have predicted this before it's kind of took over 5 or 6 years ago, the way it's headed?
Yeah, I mean, if I could make one change, I think it'd be the change everyone would make, and that is slowing down. The unlimited free agency is the fatal flaw within college football, and it's driving everyone crazy, driving some good people out of college football. Just that right there. I think you should be able to be paid whatever you're worth, and I don't see a quote-unquote true salary cap ever coming. But I mean, I think it'd be good for the game and good for the players if they were forced to stick with their commitments for longer than 6 months at a time. I think it'd be good for the coaches to have to stick with their players. If I had a magic wand, I'd say you can only transfer once as an undergraduate, and that's after your second year on campus. And all scholarships are good until then. So if you run a player off after his first year, you still have to, quote unquote, pay his scholarship. But the courts have ruled that illegal. The NCAA, this was a couple of years ago now, tried to enforce their one-time transfer rule, and then a bunch of states got together and sued and got the courts to rule that was illegal. And so that's why we are where we are. It's not because anyone within college athletics said, hey, I think unlimited free agency and unlimited salary caps are a good deal. Let's try it out. I think everyone will really like it. We're here basically because of a legal gunpoint is where the courts have college football at right now.
The NCAA is essentially powerless, Zach. It's really wild, and so many. You're seeing kind of rumors of certain conferences or people within those conferences wanting to abolish or get rid of the NCAA. I think a lot of people who are in college football or cover it or talk about it. I kind of agree to that. My boss, Coach JB, calls them the not caring assholes of America. I mean, this is just what it is. You're seeing Donald Trump. I know they paused it, but Donald Trump and bringing on Nick Saban and the Texas Tech NIL collective founder Cody Campbell, the billionaire, to do a presidential campaign to regulate and kind of study college sports, so to speak. The NCAA is powerless. Why don't conferences just say build a super conference, say fuck the NCAA? Why don't you see that?
I think a couple reasons. One is the college football basically runs itself. Like the schools basically have the power to write their own rules. They run the playoff system. They make all the money from that. The NCAA serves a couple of purposes. One, it's the clearinghouse of no one wants to actually go through and create a new infrastructure to check grades and all that stuff and make sure so-and-so is actually eligible to play college sports and is actually graduated from high school and all that stuff. Two, they run the championships and they do a pretty good job of that. I mean, last night we were all watching the NCAA softball tournament. They're in the Women's College World Series.
Sick, yeah.
That's a great event. I don't think anyone wants to see that go away. And if the NCAA itself was abolished tomorrow, then they would try to recreate exactly what they already have. And two, the NCAA is a necessary evil, I would say. It's a lot easier to blame this faceless, shapeless blue disc of a logo than it is to stand up and say, yeah, the inmates actually run this asylum. We write the rules. And if there's an unpopular rule you don't like, we had a hand in either writing it or we're not powerful enough by ourselves to actually go through and change it. So we got to live with whatever rules we've written. It's a lot easier to just say F the NCAA than actually have that conversation.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk actual college football on the field play here. Let me ask you, going into the season, it's a little bit early. It's June. We're almost to the season. Are there any teams that are kind of underrated under the radar that you might like that people aren't looking at? Personally, for me, I'm a big South Carolina guy. I think they're going to really take the SEC by storm this season. I see you got a Vanderbilt helmet behind you. I think they're going to be pretty formidable heading into the season. Obviously, they had a best season they've had in a while last season. What underrated teams in your eyes going into this year? Who do you got?
One team I really like is a lot of people are probably going to write them off as a flash in the pan, given that they rose from they were a worst to first type story, and they're so heavily reliant last year on one player. But I think Arizona State has the potential to surprise some people again. Sam Levitt's really good quarterback. Jordan Tyson's an All-American caliber receiver. If they were on the same team at Alabama, Georgia, that right there would be enough for those schools to be the preseason number one. They would be both, All-American, Heisman, cover of NCAA football type stars, but they play at Arizona State. That's a little bit off the beaten path. I think Kenny Dillingham's a great coach. I think he's built his program in a really smart way. I think he's hired some really good assistant coaches around him. I certainly wouldn't take Arizona State over the field in the Big 12 because the Big 12 is a really even conference. Sure. But if you're asking me to pick one team that most people aren't thinking to make a run, whatever that means in the playoff, that's the first one that comes to mind.
Absolutely. And you heard Kenny Dillingham kind of talk about how he wants Arizona State to take that next step, kind of work towards becoming a blue blood of the 2020, so to speak. Them last season going from essentially first to worst, like you mentioned, I don't think anybody could have predicted Arizona State had the season that they did. They were projected last season. Just same with Colorado, BYU. That conference as a whole kind of flipped itself. Everyone expected Oklahoma State to be the top dog, and they ended up being really, really horrible. So it's kind of surprising in the Big 12. I think the Big 12 was wide open, like you mentioned. It's a pretty even conference. We saw it cannibalize itself last season. A lot of teams just beating up each other. I think Arizona State probably it's top dog right now in the Big 12, followed by Texas Tech, who I'm really, really high on. Texas Tech spent a lot of money in the transfer portal, got a top 5 portal class. They're also in top 5 in spending. And like you just mentioned, Texas Tech is a school doing pretty damn well right now. Had a big softball victory yesterday as well. But looking in the Big 12.
Texas Tech, they beat Arizona State and Iowa State. They beat both of the teams that played in the Big 12 championship game. But they were a game out because they lost to TCU by 1. They lost to Colorado at home, and they got blown out by Baylor. And that's the type of thing, particularly getting blown out by Baylor, that's the type of thing that Texas Tech's not going to tolerate anymore from Joey McGuire. He's been there long enough. He's got enough resources at his disposal that if he doesn't at least get to Arlington at absolute minimum, he's going to have some tough questions to answer.
Ooh, yeah. And I don't think Texas Tech has had a 10-win season since I think 2009 or something. It's been a really long time since they've actually had a 10-win season. Looking in that conference, shout out to John in the chat as well. West Virginia, they got Rich Rod back, coaching, going back home, so to speak, and we'll see what they look like. I think Colorado is going to be pretty – personally, I cover the team. I think they're going to be pretty damn formidable. I think they're getting a lot of pieces and reloading, so to speak. Kadon Salter is ultimately the guy I think they'll go with at quarterback. We saw him at Liberty the last 4 years, throwing for over 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, ran for 20 rushing touchdowns as well. I can't wait to see it with Colorado as well. Anybody else you look forward to in the Big 12?
I think BYU is really underrated. We're talking about a team. Texas Tech easily could have won that conference. BYU was kept out basically just due to tiebreakers, and then they went to the Alamo Bowl in a game that both of these programs were taking seriously and beat the crap out of a good Colorado team. They easily could have won that conference last year. Kalani Sitake is really underrated as a coach. The Big 12 is stacked with really good coaches, and he's not one that's typically top of mind, although he probably should be.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. Kalani Sitake is a great coach. And, yeah, BYU really, really came to play. And I expect them to reload. Colorado, BYU, I believe they play in Week 5. I can't wait to see the rematch of that because I think Colorado's going to be looking to get some get-back in that game. Let's move to the ACC, Zach. I wanted to ask you about, Bill Belichick's – news came out, his buyout moves from $10 to $1 million as of June 1st. personally, but I'm really high on the Tar Heels. I really like what they've done and the approach that they've taken in this era of college football. I get there's a lot of noise with the 24-year-old girlfriend now, I guess fiance, who knows. But I think that, what they've done in the portal, bringing in a lot of kids, like I think 50 or 60 different kids in the portal, is kind of going under the radar, so to speak. And I'm excited to see them in the ACC. Looking at the ACC as a whole, how do you feel about the ACC conference as a whole and then the Tar Heels within that?
Yeah, I see that graphic there, and I know a lot of people are making a big deal of that, the buyout figure, and I agree that it's kind of a weird date to drop it by 90% before you played your first game. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, where's he going to go? No one else is offering him $10 million to coach. Every other job's full. Like on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, I really there was a lot of people targeting that date like something was going to happen. The whole time I was just like, what do you expect? But anyway, to answer your question. Clemson is obviously top of mind. This is a year where Dabo is expected to actually compete for the national championship. And in a year where there's not an overarching favorite, I on paper, I don't see why not. He's got a really good, arguably the best returning quarterback in college football in Cade Klubnik. He's got elsewhere. He's got really good D-line talent. Really good wide receiver talent, and I think those three positions in today's college football, if you had to pick where you want to be really good, you can make a good argument for quarterback, receiver, D-line. So he's Clemson's just because it's kind of a throwback in that obviously he doesn't live and die with the portal, to his credit and to his detriment. So they're a team that's going to cycle up and cycle down, and now they're cycling upwards in a year that maybe it's good to cycle upwards. I think Miami is really interesting. I think Miami's success, at least in the portal and in recruiting, kind of a little bit explains why the SEC and particularly Alabama and Georgia have come back to earth a little bit. Obviously, he's not going to help them this year, but go out and getting Jackson Cantwell. And then the other year, that kid's at Georgia, and Georgia's increasing its lead over everyone else for the most talented teams in college football. Now he's not going to be a Bulldog. He's going to be a Hurricane, at least for a year. And I think in the long run, that's good for college football. I'm still skeptical of Mario as an actual game day head coach. He's made changes on defense. That team should have been in the playoff last year. They weren't. Rhett Lashley is a really good coach at SMU. They've gotten better every single year. They won the AAC in their final year, should have won the ACC, got upset by Clemson. They're continuing to climb. He brings back Kevin Jennings, who's kind of, despite how he played against Penn State, until then I kind of had that it factor at quarterback. Yeah. So the ACC, I thought, in general, has been a distant fourth and even fifth among the Power 5 conferences when the Pac-12 was still a power conference. But we could be cycling upwards to where they could be that number 3 league this year.
Yeah, and I'm starting, as time goes on, I'm starting to think that this season will really be the determinant of that. But I think the ACC, at least last season, probably was stronger than the Big 12. It's kind of a toss-up, but I think with the Miami strength, I think they're pretty damn – like you make the point with that conference. Going into this season, you brought up Miami, obviously getting Jackson Cantwell, paying him a bunch of money. He calls out On3 Sports and all these reporting agencies about, recruiting news, etc. But nonetheless, great get for them. I think they take a drop this year slightly. I think the weapons they've lost on offense are going to kind of come back to hurt them a little bit, specifically the Damian Martinez loss. If they can fill the whole Damian Martinez hole and, have a consistent running back for Carson Beck to hand that ball to, I think they'll be fine. But right now, I think there's a lot of question marks with Miami. They lost a lot of talent, so that kind of alarms me, especially Carson Beck. I don't know how you feel about Carson Beck, but I'm like, he needs all the talent he can get, especially if he's transferred from Georgia going to South Beach. Looking at the AC, I agree with you about Clemson, top dog, absolutely got Cade Klubnik back, great D-line. I expect them to win the conference, win at least 10, 11 games. Syracuse and Fran Brown is a big question mark for me. They got a quarterback battle going on. I believe they got Angeli and another kid battling it out. We'll see who Fran Brown ultimately starts, but they've leaned on quarterback transfers. At least last year they had Kyle McCord. That'll be a team to watch in the AC as well. Virginia Tech, Kyron Drones, they got him. I thought he's a great player, but kind of underperformed last season, so to speak. The ACC is wide open to me, Zach. It's an interesting conference. I can't wait to see it. But, man, Zach, I can't thank you enough for joining, my man. I appreciate you joining here on this beautiful Tuesday. We'd love to have you back on again closer to the season, and I hope you have a great – beautiful Tuesday, my man.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Have a great day. Shout out to Ryder for footballscoop.com. My main man, Zach Barnett, joining the show, talking all these college football news, kind of talking a little legislator, a little conference previews here as we get closer to the season. I can't thank him enough for joining. And without further ado, we go from one to another here on Bailey Price Media Live. If you're watching, hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army. Drop a super chat if you're watching. Without further ado, my main man is here, Alcorn State assistant head coach, Coach Leroy Frederick, joins the show. Coach Fred, what up? How you doing?
I'm good, B. What's happening, man?
Man, we grinding here, man. It's Tuesday. Doing well here on this, Bailey Price Media Live. We here again, Coach Fred, and I don't know if you saw the thumbnail, but Dez Bryant got a lot to say about the NFL. This is an old promotion for Pride Month, but Dez Bryant had a lot to say about this ad. Coach JB went off about this yesterday. It's just, I don't get it. You got the Buffalo Bills posting stuff about Pride Month. Just, what is your takeaway from this, Coach Fred? Why does the NFL, certain NFL teams at least, continue to promote this?
I think it's I don't want to say bully, scared tactic or something like that, Bailey, but I think they try to keep that community from attacking them, so to speak. So in order to gain that support, we put that out there because nobody wants that community coming at them. So I think at some point in time, somewhere in Buffalo, someone made a call to a front office asking for some donations, asking for something, and it almost went left. So in return, we're going to do this, that kind of thing. It's my take, because other than that, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, absolutely. I think it's just protecting their liberal agenda, Coach Fred. I don't know how else to put it here. I thought Dez Bryant coming out and saying this, kind of calling it out. I didn't see a lot of other people, with the exception of JB, kind of calling it out.
But everybody else is thinking it. So we're all
they're thinking
we're all thinking what JB is saying. You know what I mean? Let's just be honest. We're all thinking what JB is saying.
Yeah, definitely. And shout out to Dez Bryant for calling out the craziness. And I don't know. I can't believe this is where we're at and where we're still promoting. It just is crazy to me. I don't get it. We got problems.
Dez has never cared. Dez has never cared as a player, so you can't expect him to care now that he's not in the league anymore. So he's going to voice and say what it is, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I think you've got to have more people do that. But will more people do that? Because, you run the risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And great point, Coach. Let's get into it. Let's discuss some news. We'll go to NFL news, and then we'll go to college here. But Coach Fred, this is an interesting one here. Coach Prime responds to all the heat and criticism about Shedeur Sanders' pre-draft interviews, where he was reportedly wearing headphones and he wasn't, able to, draw up certain schematics that the coaches were asking him. Take a listen to Coach Prime's response to all this heat here.
There was a lot of rumors about the next level, and I can't see that. Yeah. I can't see the next level, and I think a couple people who may have taken shots at my kids, they were afraid that I would go. That's where the shots came from. All you got to do is just sit back and listen. People don't want to do that. They want to create these narratives and create these stories and then attach them to a kid that ain't never done nothing wrong.
Yeah. How does that make you feel when you see your colleagues or your peers going in on you, man? How does that make you feel?
No idea, man. You have no idea. We've always been in front of the camera, so they know how to navigate. They know how to handle themselves. Yeah. And you're not going to catch them in no foolery and no mess. You're not. When you sit up there and say something like, he went in a meeting unprepared, dude, Shedeur Sanders, who's had 6 different coordinators, who has still functioned and leveled up every time we brought somebody new in, and you're gonna tell me situation. You're gonna tell me he had on headphones.
So you a dog, your kid's a dog, and dogs gonna always rise to the top. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I'm muted. Let me first off say this. I got no problem with Coach Prime defending his son. Second off, I guess in the video, and Coach Bryant's been dealing with an ailment. He apparently has lost 14 or 15 pounds. Certainly looks lighter in there. So prayers up to whatever Coach is battling and dealing with there health-wise. But Coach Fred, what are your thoughts on Coach Bryant's comments responding to the heat, so to speak, about Shedeur's pre-draft interviews?
I mean, I get it. That's the dad in him talking. But, he did say some things that, if you were listening, were part of the problems that they were saying they were having with him in the draft interviews. 6 coordinators in how many years?
6 years, something like that.
So a lot of coordinators, a lot of different terminology. Some say that those coordinators were handed certain playbooks. Again, that's the word on the street in the coaching community or whatever. This coordinator, you run this, you run this, you run this. The headphone thing I always thought was kind of far-fetched,
Right.
but he does have this thing with Beats, and you got to remember, they were the same ones that were telling certain teams that we weren't coming there. And maybe
Coach Bryant did say that. He said they were pulling Eli. That I really did think that was detrimental for him to say, especially he said that like a year ago, Coach. He said that well before, I think a year or so
Going
before the
into it,
draft.
yeah.
So that catches up to him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know one particular team. Hey, we ain't letting my son. He ain't going there. Don't worry about it. He goes to that interview. Of course, he's not going to give his 110 in that interview because he's not planning to go there. I could see maybe not on the ear, but Bailey, I work with these kids. They walk in, they've got them behind their ear, they got them around their neck. And maybe that's what it was, because for someone to say he walked in a meeting with headphones and no headphones being placed, I mean, that's easy to dispute. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And shout out to Sante Samuels, because, they had been beefing prior to. So to have them have that little sit down. But again, I can't remember who asked it, and I'll ask you, Bailey, to ask Matt, to ask them, has anyone said the exact reason why he dropped?
See, I've heard different things from everybody in media. I asked Matt about this, and Matt's like, well, someone's bullshitting. Someone's not telling the truth because, I mean, if Prime says that's not true, Matt's got swords. It's just, I don't know. A lot of this is hearsay, Coach, and I don't know. You see different media heads report different things. I kind of just go based on who I know has sources and who doesn't. It's kind of a big question mark to me. But now I think we're kind of past it. We can kind of he's with Cleveland now. It is what it is. And now we kind of look to the way he's handling the situation in Cleveland. And
right.
This brings me to this. So Joe Flacco, we've talked about him, the mentorship with Shedeur, so to speak. Shedeur was, kind of shown on a video saying if Joe told me to organize his locker every day, I'd do it. I go to him every day and ask, are you good? Do you need anything? Because it's respect. That's who Shedeur Sanders is, Coach Fred. And I'll play this so you can take a look at it. Take a listen.
Ultra. This is the thing. No. What? If Flacco told me to do this every day, I would do it. Because, bro, I real talk, chat, real talk. I go to him every day and I say, hey, bro, you good? You need anything?
But when you be like,
Right hand, because it's respect. You feel me? I feel that.
I think you cap, but it's all good.
Ask him.
I love it, Coach Fred. I love it. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I love it, but then, Bailey, are we doing this for the gram, or are we genuinely doing this?
Yeah, that is another question to be asked. Absolutely.
Especially after seeing Joe Flacco's interview. I don't know if you saw that, where he was saying that's not his job to be the mentor, those kinds of things. Are we answering this back as a media deal to show people that I'm not one way or another with Joe Flacco? Or are we genuinely saying, hey, I'll play the rookie role. There's no problem with playing the rookie role. If he wants donuts, I'll go get donuts. That's what rookies do, so to speak. But was it for the gram or was it from the heart? Is the only thing that I would push back that I know others are saying.
Yeah, definitely. My pushback to that is this. There's Dylan Gabriel's there too. He's also a rookie quarterback. I haven't heard – I mean, granted, I don't think Dylan Gabriel's walking around streaming everything. That's the other thing. I just think this was caught and they people are publishing – he said this. But I also think that, I mean, he's a fifth-round pick. I think he knows where he's at, and he's got to do every little intangible thing possible. Just like his brother Shiloh in Tampa Bay. We talked about Coach Fred a few weeks ago about Shiloh talking about how he's going to be the snack guy for the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think this is the same thing with Shedeur. The little things, Coach, I think are going to go a long way for Shedeur, at least for Cleveland. Here you got Jerry Jeudy saying I'm talking about Shedeur Sanders. I think he's a great young quarterback. I think he's going to do a tremendous job for us. He's a great dude, and I'm excited to have on our team. Kind of basic, media talk there, but nonetheless, more praise for Shedeur Sanders. Coach, you put any weight in this? What are your thoughts?
Nah, I just, Bailey, this is just one to keep an eye on because somebody's got to go out of that quarterback room.
Yeah. Yeah. So who's the odd man out, Coach? I think it's Kenny Pickett. I'll stand on. I think Flacco's their guy. I think Flacco's the right. I mean, for Cleveland, Flacco's been there and done that recently. Led them to a playoff run recently. He can mentor the two rookie quarterbacks who will battle it out seemingly through the whole year. I just don't. I don't see them keeping four, Coach Fred. I don't know.
I don't either. That doesn't make sense. But again, what does?
Right. Yeah, exactly. What does make sense? Well, Coach, let me ask you, let's stick in this conference here, or stick in this division here. Let's go over to Pittsburgh. I talked about this on Friday. What's the deal with the Steelers? What are they doing at quarterback? I said this on Friday, and I'm going to stick with this prediction. I think they're done with Aaron Rodgers. I'm done with this Aaron Rodgers hype train. I think they're going to start Mason Rudolph, and just Mike Tomlin's going to stay old school and say, this is my guy, this is who I'm rolling with. And then if Will Howard ends up being ready to play, they may see him if that's necessary. But keep in mind, Mason Rudolph does have a winning record as a starter in Pittsburgh. He's led them to a playoff run, I believe. So I would think that Tomlin, at this point, it's June. Why isn't Aaron signed? What are we doing? I think they're rolling Mason Rudolph. Coach Fred, what are your thoughts on the Steelers quarterback situation?
I'm with you. I think that window on Aaron is kind of 98% closed.
Right.
I think he's held them hostage past the point of being able to go get a quality veteran, so to speak. So I think they go, like you said, with Mason and run heavy style offense, keep the pressure off of him, and, try to rebuild the steel curtain and, let Tomlin work his magic. Suppose, never had a losing record, knock. Get a couple steals within the conference and be right back in the playoffs with a guy who you haven't had to put in harm's way. I don't think, and again, this is me as a super fan, I don't think they should spend that money to go get Kirk Cousins because I don't think Kirk takes you to the Super Bowl. That's just me. And you can, dispute it all you want, but I don't
have a problem with that, Coach. I really don't. Because
I don't think putting that money, that's tough. That's tough.
Unless it depends what they'd have to give up. It's so tough for me with Kirk Cousins because I thought the Falcons really – there's a reason they drafted Michael Penix, in my opinion, Coach. I think the Falcons really overstepped with Kirk Cousins, especially coming off an Achilles injury. And don't get it twisted. I'm a big Kirk Cousins guy. I thought he's a great player. He's consistent. He does his thing. Great player. But with that said, the situation with the Falcons, the way they paid him a lot of money. Now, what would Pittsburgh have to give up to get him? Does Pittsburgh have to carry on that contract?
Yes. I think they'd have to take that money.
Yeah, so I think there's a big question mark there, and I just don't think Mason Rudolph and Kirk, are you really going to say Kirk Cousins at this point in his career is that much better than Mason Rudolph? When Mason Rudolph is younger, he's won with Pittsburgh, he has a familiarity. I don't know. I think they're rolling Mason Rudolph, Coach. Time goes on, and I don't know. If Aaron Rodgers don't go there, is he done? He has to be done, right?
It's got to be. Who else is going to take that on this late? You know what I mean? I think he's got to be.
I would have said the 49ers, but they paid Brock Purdy crazy money. So, yeah, I think that's out the window now.
Mr. Relevant to Mr. Filthy Rich.
Yeah, man, he got a lot of money. Shout out to Brock Purdy getting paid like I think what 55 million for the first 3 years or something, like 100 or I don't know. He's getting a lot of money guaranteed too. Big fat check, like 200 million or something. Crazy. Well, Coach Fred, let's move forward. Let's get into this one here. Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter playing in Jags OTAs. Travis Hunter's playing DBs in Jaguars OTAs and makes an insane interception here, Coach Fred. Let me ask you, as a coach yourself, do you like what you see from Travis here in terms of his DB mechanics here? I think this is a phenomenal play. I get it's one-on-ones and OTAs and shirt and shells, but nonetheless, great play from Travis there, Coach. What are your thoughts?
Hell of a play. We all have said it at some point in time. The kid has tremendous ball skills. You can't deny that. And this is one of the first ones that, we've seen on the defensive side of the ball. So, I think that's that right there. Offhand, bat it, and then find it.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Phenomenal play. That's
sick. That's sick.
So
But the receiver coach in me is really pissed at the receiver, though, because
why?
You win at the line. Get back on line. Stack him. Put him on your back. Don't let him run beside you. Because when you let him run beside you, you allow him to become the hero. He's beat. He's beat. If I've got him on my back, I see the ball short. I can stop. He's going to run through me, PI. Let him run beside me. I've got to step on him. He's beat right there, baby. But being an athletic person, he's able to become the hero, and now it looks like he's won. But he's beat from the beginning. But the receiver allows him to stay there. But that's neither here nor there. We can go on.
Absolutely, Coach. And we're getting a first look at Travis Hunter and Jaguars OTAs playing defense, Coach. Liam Cohen talked about that we'd expect see Travis on the defensive side. I'm really happy that we're finally getting a chance because if I had to classify Travis, I think he's a wide receiver one, but he's an elite, like super elite defensive back. Like that's his true, just because of his ball skills. You remember that TCU pick in the flat where he went and picked off the guy in the flat. What are your thoughts on his play as a defensive back as we're getting to see him making insane plays in Jaguars OTAs?
I like him. If they're going to do this, Bailey, I think it's got to be done in a nickel dime corner type situation. I think he's really athletic enough to be able to play any slot. And I think by doing that, you really give him a chance to highlight his athletic ability.
If you're an active Division I coach, you evaluate talent and you see, kind of how Travis has been playing, and you see this position, how this works in this game. Are you concerned about Travis's weight and
AC joints, soft tissue stuff? That's the concern I would have for him. Like we said on the other show a couple weeks back, he's got to have close to zero body fat. So now we're in Jacksonville, heat, weather. Now we're running the situation of where, cramping becomes a deal. IVs in between series, going back to the locker room. I think all that comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, nonetheless, going back to that great play, Coach, we're getting a chance to see Travis make plays at DB. The internet's losing their mind seeing Travis play DB. This is exactly, covering Colorado last year, this is what I thought about. Travis is going to be electric no matter where they line him up. I'm happy that people are getting a chance to see it, and I'm happy that the Jaguars are not afraid to use Travis in all capacities here. Here you got Liam Cohen's comments on Travis playing defense here. He says, just the movement, skills, and man coverage, the feel and zone. You can definitely see how natural it is for him. When you see him in an actual team setting, he doesn't look out of place by any means. Coach Fred, do you put any weight to those comments? What are your thoughts there?
Coach Liam is saying what he's supposed to say. You know what I mean? He's not supposed to come out there and say anything crazy. Remember, he's their first-round pick. They gave up a lot of stuff to move up, one spot to get him. So, of course. And nobody said he wasn't a player, right? Nobody has said that ever. I think the question has always been, can he play 80 snaps of an NFL game? And is Jacksonville willing to risk their franchise, so to speak, by doing this? for how long?
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Are you confident in Liam Cohen as a head coach, and then are you confident in Trevor Lawrence as a QB for Travis? That's my final question.
I really like. A couple years ago, I really liked Trevor Lawrence. I really did. But when the pressure, they lost some pieces up front. The Trevor Lawrence that I knew from Clemson that could get out of trouble, I don't know where he went, but he didn't show up last year. You know,
that's a good point.
So, and then it'll be interesting to see, does Cohen bring in what he did at Tampa with Baker? Does he implement more of what he did when he was with the Rams, which is two totally different styles, so to speak? Baker's probably a little more mobile than my guy at the Rams.
Who are you talking about, Stafford?
Stafford. I got to believe that Trevor is probably a little bit more mobile. He used to be a little bit more mobile than all two of those guys.
I'm trying to look at his injury history because I believe he did have like a major injury, Coach. Didn't he like tear an ACL or something recent? Like, I swear.
I don't know if it was an ACL, but I know he had an injury, but I don't think it was an ACL though, B.
Well, what happened, Coach? Like, I remember him running the ball at Clemson, even his first year in Jacksonville. I don't know, Coach. Nonetheless, I think they got to get in Jacksonville. You got to look at their wide receiver tandem. They got a big cat from LSU, Brian Thomas Jr. You got Travis, and then you got De'Ami Brown coming over from Washington. Pretty good trio there in Jacksonville, no?
Yeah, very good. Last year, he put on, Junior put on. They got to get that run game back. I think that was when he was really good, when he had that run game. And then they had my big guy, older guy, the tight end position as a safety blanket for him. I think it was Mercedes Lewis for a while.
Oh, yeah, Mercedes Lewis down there. They had Evan Ingram, but now he's up in Denver.
Yeah. So 2 years ago when they made that run, that's when, Trevor Lawrence was Trevor Lawrence. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get back. Definitely,
no doubt. Well, let's stick in Florida NFL teams, and let's go to Tampa Bay here. And Shedeur Sanders has been working his way up, so to speak, in Bucs OTAs. Here you see him running, kind of jogging around with Baker Mayfield. Coach, if you had to give advice to Shedeur Sanders working his way up to make the roster for Tampa Bay, he's already talked about how he's trying to be the snack guy, do every little intangible thing he can to make that bust roster. If you had to give him advice, what would you give him and why?
Do everything. If there's a special teams meeting, be in it. If there's a position on kickoff, volunteer for it, because you've got to work your way up. You remember they got Wingfield Jr. And the other veteran there. So, snaps at the safety is going to be at a minimum. So, earn your keep that way. We were down there last week, able to work OTAs, got a chance to see him. It's funny because after practice, you got Wingfield Jr., who's a vet, who's a guy, was the highest paid safety just a few years ago. Nobody's really talking to him. The mics are over there, talking to Shiloh.
Wow.
But and it's crazy to see. But there's no animosity from the team or whatever. It was just more, the kids got to be able to handle that because every day that's what he's going to get until roster cuts and things like that. So if he can stay humble, be willing to do the dirty work, I think he's got a great chance.
Absolutely.
That's Baker right there in front of him there.
Yep, him and Baker right there. You brought up Antoine Winfield, and I think they also got Jordan Whitehead, a player that I compare Shiloh to very similarly, kind of a harder hitting safety, kind of slower, but I think it's a good player for Shiloh to look up to. You brought up Antoine Winfield. He was asked about Shedeur Sanders, and he had this to say about his performance so far in Bucs OTAs. Take a listen.
He plays hard. He works hard. You know, he really wants to learn, and he just wants to improve his game. And so that's something that you admire from somebody coming in who wants to learn and actually play this game.
Well, and plus, I mean, you can relate to him in the sense that, you know, you're coming in and you have a famous last name. Like, there's a lot of expectations that come with that, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he understands, and I'm sure he grew up with it. same with myself. But he's a great kid. He works tremendously hard, and, you know, I can't say enough about him.
Yeah, definitely with the last name there, Coach. What are your thoughts on his comments? And then you mentioned you were down there at Bucks OTAs. What did you see? What are your takeaways from watching Shiloh and the Bucks secondary?
Winfield's a great guy. You know, I had a chance to have a conversation with him, and you know, he's open and has been open to helping him. It was really interesting to see. I'm on the offensive field, but then, you know, they come together 7-on-7 team, and after his reps, it was interesting to see how the other guys would go to him. It was interesting to see how he would go to the other guys after they made plays. Or whatever. And I think that was the most interesting thing, because the knock on him, a little different from his brother. The knock on him was more that he was more of the arrogant, you know, say whatever kind of kid, as to where, yeah, his brother was, you know, a little arrogant, but he never really said anything. But he's a really good kid, man, happy-go-lucky. And it seems to be that everybody in the building has welcomed him. And, you know, he's been humble and socializes with all those guys as well. So, you know, that he's off to a great start.
Absolutely. And great character guy. I think a great guy to have in the locker room. Certainly entertaining, Coach. We talked about it. Shiloh got to have a TV show one day, Coach. He certainly is entertaining. Certainly a great character guy. Certainly,
no doubt.
I think, likable. Go ahead.
And the other great thing about the Bucks OTAs is that the week we're there, the vets weren't mandated to be there, but they were there. And to me, that is the biggest help for him, because those guys actually showed up and participated in that week of OTAs to help those young guys. Baker, you know, they drafted a receiver. He wants to get timing with that guy. So to see that and to see how far Baker has come maturity-wise, and to see those other vets there, you know, the Bucks got some stuff going, man. And I think it's in a positive direction.
Ooh, man, that makes me excited for Shiloh and for Tampa Bay, because I think they got a good core. I'm a big fan of Baker. I'm glad that he finally has a home that, you know, is all invested in him, and, you know, is invested with him being their future, unlike Cleveland Browns. But I'm really excited to see Tampa Bay and Shedeur Sanders working his way up. Hopefully, we'll see. He can make the roster. I expect him to. Shout out to Shiloh working his way up. Coach, let me ask you, let's go into some college football news. We're almost to the season. I talked about this with football writer for footballscoop.com, Zach Barnett here. Kirby Smart said that colleges are reportedly paying high school commits $20K to stay committed to their schools and not to decommit. And if they decommit, they have to give the money back. Coach, what are your thoughts on that? Did you see that?
It's absolutely crazy. I heard it, rumors about it. Actually, there was a coach downstairs in the lounge where I'm at right now was asking me about it, and I'm just like, you know, it's gonna be a madhouse in about 2 years.
Yeah.
How many kids, how many parents are gonna get that money and bolt? Then what?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm concerned about. Is I'm like, because there's several things on top of my mind that I'm concerned about. What you just mentioned, taxes. Are we just not? Is that not a thing anymore?
Nobody,
like, is this
Bailey? Has nobody mentioned that?
No, I don't. I very rarely do I hear people on shows talk about that. Like, is that out the window now? I know we brought up certain states that are making NIL money non-taxable, but I don't know how that applies to schools when they're, you know, they're in this revenue sharing now. It's not really I mean, I don't know. It's such a mess, Coach. Interesting. I just thought it was an interesting tidbit. JB kind of reacted to this last week, kind of just a wild headline, so to speak, in college football. Let me ask you something else. Go ahead.
Because you guys had a dad and a kid on, right?
Yeah, so Trey Taylor, he's a class of 2026 quarterback. He's a 4-star kid. He committed to Nebraska, but in doing so, you saw the signing day video where he flipped the hat and blah, blah, blah. Did that, right? And then so JB goes off about it, and then the next day or that night or something, the dad sees it. I posted on like a Saturday. So the dad texted him like right after. So he must be a fan of the show. Text JB right after saying, all this shit, blah, blah, blah. And JB's like, whatever, I'll bring you on. And then he goes on and it goes that way. And I don't know. It just seemed like the dad was really offended about JB and Smitty's comments on their parenting when the kid disrespected the parenting with his action. So it's kind of it just seems like he's kind of offended. I don't know. What were your takeaways from that?
Right, because I text JB and I was just like, that'll be the same parent that gets mad when Nebraska, the Tuesday before that signing day on Wednesday, says we're going to pull the offer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which has happened, baby. Which has happened.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a deal of where, tit for tat, however you want to put it. But this happens, and I just didn't agree with the guy. And then the more he kept talking, the more his issue had nothing to do with football.
Right, and I was just like,
we know what his issue had to do with JB. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
I hate white moms. Yeah, that's what you're super offended about. And I'm like, you know what? You'd be offended about it. Either way, with the dad, I don't think really – maybe he understands this or maybe he doesn't to the extent that maybe you and I do. You know damn well, Coach, we've talked about this. 60% of kids that are going in college football have gone in the portal 2 or more times or have been at 3 or more schools. So the reality is if Trey Taylor – who, by the way, let's talk about Nebraska's quarterbacks for a second. You got Dylan Raiola, who's there, and he's a young kid, so he's going to be there for at least another year, probably 2 years. You got his brother, who I'm assuming is a left-handed kid, but I'm guessing the dad's the offensive line coach. I'm just going to take a wild guess that the little brother of Dylan Raiola is probably going to come there. So that's another quarterback. How does Trey Taylor see the field here? So then you have to look at, if he enters the portal, he's already alienated himself with Illinois and Bielema. Because you know how Coach Bielema is. There ain't no way he's taking him after that. No way.
No.
So he's already alienated himself with him. I can't even name you the other schools that were on those. He had like 4 or 5 hats there. I just don't think the dad really understood the magnitude of it, no?
And I wish we could actually, and I'm not wishing anything ill on the kid or the family, but I wish we could thumbnail that for a later date because of what you just said. Because there's a room of 6 quarterbacks already, not to mention what's going to happen in between now and the class of 26, right? Mm-hmm. We know, and I can speak firsthand to it, Bailey, where we've got Bailey committed as a high school senior, and Bailey's doing great, but December, the kid from Alabama leaves, wants to come here. Sorry, Bailey.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, go in the portal or just play backup.
And we know how it is now. No kid is doing that. I will leave Nebraska and go to Nevada, Fresno State. Nothing against those schools, but I'm just saying that's how that chain starts to go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see that. I can see that happening because there's a lot of room between now and the class of 2026 with Nebraska's quarterback room. So I wish we could mark that and then revisit that.
Well, something just tells me that we're going to have to revisit this issue probably a year from now, probably this December, potentially. And I'm not wishing any ill will against the kid. This is just the nature of college football, and I'm looking at the quarterback room unbiasedly. It's tough for me to sit here and say I see this kid playing in the next 4 years because of the quarterbacks that they have. I'm not even knocking the kid. I haven't even that's just what it is. So that's why I was like, he might have alienated himself there, and that's the problem. The parents understood that or don't, but I think their biggest issue going at JB is what he said.
Has
not even
zero to do with
since we talk about Bill Belichick so much, his buyout with the University of North Carolina went from $10 million to $1 million on the 1st of June. It's on June 3rd. I don't really put any weight to that, but a lot of people on social media are. Do you put any weight to it?
They're trying to ruin this thing for you, man. I know how bad you want to see this happen. I know how bad you want to see this happen, man. They're trying to ruin this thing for you, man. They really are.
I'm telling you, they're going to be good, man. I think they're going under the radar because of the damn girlfriend. They're like the addition of having Michael Lombardi as their general manager, I think, is going to go a long way. Somebody who's been an executive before and is doing his job like professionally in a landscape where you see, programs hiring general managers that have never done it before. Typically, Stanford's hiring Andrew Luck. Oklahoma's hiring Jim Nagy, who's Senior Bowl. Like I still don't know what that is. Huh?
I still don't know what that job description is.
At first, I thought it was a polished director of football ops. Now I'm like,
no,
it's not. You don't think it's that either?
No, from what I understand, because I thought it was the same thing. I thought it was just a fancy way of saying the ops guy.
I mean, from what I understand with Michael Lombardi's case in the Tar Heels, he's doing a lot of the recruiting for them. From what I understand, it's kind of like professional football where you're bringing in kids and you're a coach and you just have a new player on the roster, I guess. That's what I've heard. I'm not going to say how I heard it. I'm going to say that's what I've heard. And I don't know how you would look at it and how you would title that. But
for the next show, man, I'm gonna for the next time you invite me on, man, I'm gonna have that job description so we can break it down. I'm gonna make some calls. I'm gonna find some guys that's actually in that position and want to talk about it, and I'm gonna have it breaking news right here on Bailey Price Media what the general manager of a college football team does. Because if you remember, Andrew Luck fired a guy.
Yeah. And I
don't know too many op guys that have that opportunity or have the luxury of doing that.
Got rid of Troy Taylor. That's true. I know Troy had the thing with the women, but Andrew Luck did make that call.
Not the AD.
No, Andrew Luck, the general man. So here's what AI says. In college football, a general manager oversees all aspects of roster construction, including recruiting, the portal, and NIL compensation. They are essentially the head of football operations, managing player personnel, scouting, and contract negotiations. Jesus Christ, in college football? God damn. But my whole point of it was Michael Lombardi in that role in a college football setting where other programs are hiring, like you just mentioned, Andrew Luck and other. That's why I think they're going to be so good. I don't hear people talking about the recruits they're bringing in. They've gotten a lot of transfers. Every linebacker transfer, a lot of certain transfers I thought were going to go Big 12, we're going to go to Colorado because I cover them. The Tar Heels took them. So I don't hear anybody talking about them. They brought in over 60 transfers or something like that. It's been a complete overhaul. It's like when Deion went to Colorado the first time, except – and I don't know if this is true, but I think Bill probably had a little bit more time in the offseason because I think Deion left right after the season with Jackson, no? I don't know about Bill. Yeah, so that was my other thing. So I'm excited to see the Tar Heels coach. But nonetheless, the buyouts going from 10 to 1 million and people are freaking out about it. I don't think he's going anywhere. Where's he going to go at this point? Unless it's the fallout from the girlfriend. That's the only scenario I could sit here and
and that's what I see.
I guess
that's what I see. Nothing football wise, but that's what I see. I see the Jordan effect. I see that coming into play, and they're trying to ruin it for you, dog.
Yeah,
they're trying to ruin it for you, dog. Ain't no doubt. I hate it, but they're trying to ruin it for you.
They can try all they want. We're June 3rd now, so we've been talking about this since February. I think it's gonna be just fine, Coach, and I can't wait to watch them this season, nonetheless. But Coach, I can't thank you enough for joining. It's been a great show here on this beautiful Tuesday. I appreciate you. I know you're a busy man. I'll let you get back to it, and I'd love to have you on back soon. I'll reach out.
Yeah, I'm busy, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And I check out Coach Fred on the Common Man podcast every week, 5 p.m. Central. I know he's doing his thing. It's growing, getting bigger as we get closer to the season. He does a great job over there. So if you're watching, go check out Coach Fred on the Common Man podcast. Coach, thank you so much for joining, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And if you're here listening, make sure you go subscribe to the Bailey Price Media. A lot of people are in here, but how many of you actually subscribe? Now, we want the likes, but we want the subscriptions as well.
Absolutely, Coach. Absolutely. Well said. Coach, I'll reach out to you offline. Can't thank you enough for joining. I hope you have a beautiful Tuesday, my man.
Thank you, Bailey. You too.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Shout out to Alcorn State Assistant Head Coach, Coach Leroy Frederick, joining the show. He's the main man. I appreciate him. Always appreciate getting his insight every single week here on Bailey Price Media Live. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in here. This beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. We'll be back on Thursday talking Texas Longhorns football. We got a Texas Longhorns insider working for 247 Sports joining the show on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. I also got another special guest who will be joining the show as well. So stay tuned for that. Thursday is going to be a massive, massive show here as we continue to grind here as we get close to the season. Man, I can't wait for college football season. We're going to be doing live watch parties. We're going to be talking all the smack about all things college football. We're going to talk betting, which I can't wait. I don't watch no basketball at all. I can't wait for football season. I'm a football guy, and this is a football channel. So stay tuned, hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys on Thursday here on BPM Live. Enjoy your Tuesday and enjoy your day. Peace. Thank you.